You know why human beings build houses and don't live like animals? It's because of the protection of the dignity of the person. If God had created us with that dignity, we would have been consulting and engaging and exercising our conjugal rights like animals, like low-level animals. So at any time that you are treating a human being, you see, it is the height of hypocrisy. It is the height of hypocrisy to celebrate the death of George Floyd, to use state resources to perform the funeral of George Floyd, and not hold the lives of Ghanaians in dignity. It's the height of hypocrisy. First of all, the pastor was arrested at his home by plain clothed persons who were masquerading as national security officials. I am not aware of powers granted national security officials to effect arrest apart from the general powers of states vested in the citizens of this country. Simply put, a national security official has the same powers of arrest like you, like me, like anybody. That is when an offense is committed in his presence.
True.
So, even as Inusa Fuseini, when an offense is being committed in my presence, I have the powers of arrest.
Citizens arrest.
Citizens arrest. And this is the same thing with the national security official. And the same thing even with the police. Now, there are instances that the police can arrest without a warrant, and one of such instances when the offense is committed in his presence. The second instance is when the offense is being committed in transit. So you have the police erect barriers on the road, and then contraband goods are being moved. The police can arrest the person moving the contraband goods without a warrant. These are the only instances. So that's an offense. You come to the room and you find a person inflicting pain on a child or the wife. You have a right, a duty to arrest that person. Not separate the fight, to arrest that person. Because it's an unlawful harm. It's visiting an unlawful harm. So a crime is being committed and in your presence. But when you arrest, you send that person to the nearest police station. If the police have to arrest outside the instances where they can arrest without a warrant, they must arrest with a warrant. A court, because you see, an arrest is denying the person the fundamental right to freedom of what? Movement.
Yeah.
So you are going to overreach his rights. So you need a warrant. And when that warrant is issued and you go to effect the arrest, that is what we call the Miranda rights.
Yeah.
You have to inform the person in the language that he understands. And his right to a lawyer of his own choice. A person arrested, restricted, or detained has to be informed in the language that he understands.
Yeah, rules of natural justice.
Of the reasons of it for his arrest and the rights. It's a constitution. It's a constitutional right. I think Article 17 or so of the Constitution. That's what the Constitution tells you. What did we see in the video? Under the regime of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, in fact, I'm appalled. This is a banana republic. And so you will see again, you see, when a commission of inquiry says that the national security establishment has no existence under the laws of this country and so should be disbanded, they had good reason to say that. Because we saw at Owusu West Wuogon, a national security official slapped a member of parliament, and members or supporters of the MPP were justifying the slap. You see what has happened? Somebody sits in his church, never mind the content. I mean, for content, we can have our own views about what he said, whether what he said could be interpreted to mean he had committed a crime, or whether it could lead to the disturbance of the peace and security of this country. We can have our own views, and I won't argue with anybody who says that what he said was inappropriate. I won't argue, but I'm saying that even if what he said was inappropriate, I'm saying that even if what he said bordered on a criminal conduct, that did not operate to deny him of his rights. That's just what I'm saying. And that the national security establishment who were deployed to go and arrest him had a responsibility. Those who deployed them ought to have told them that they need to inform him of his rights under the law. But what do you expect? People sat on TV and said that they had directed the arrest. Meanwhile, they have no portfolio. They don't have any portfolio. This is the country that we are now in, Mr. Kosiprat. This is the country that you don't know who will direct your arrest. And that if you are even arrested, Japa recently was in his house. The special assistant to Nudu Mensah, when a group of people in a pickup went to his door, knocked at his door, intending to pick him for what offense he did not know. That is the country in which we live. Who directed that? You don't know. I feel terribly unsafe in this country because of the impunity that is now seeping through in this country. Because the people who are in authority have been blinded by the arrogance of power to the extent that they just think that we don't matter and that they can treat you anyhow. Watch what is happening in this country. And what is more disturbing is that people who hitherto spoke on matters of this nature, which were not of the same level of aggravation, like what is happening now, have suddenly lost their tongues. It makes me feel whether we are a bunch of hypocrites in this country who simply have no values. Because what was bad yesterday should be bad today, no matter who is in charge.
God.
But no. So he was arrested. He was not told of his Miranda rights. He was told nothing. He was dragged. He was not even searched. You arrest him. His family members are there. There was a journalist who was interviewing him. You think that you will search him. Search him in their presence.
But even an arrest warrant is different from a search warrant.
Well, I'm saying that on his person. You want to search his person.
Okay.
Search him in their presence. Search him in their presence so that they can be witnesses. You drag him, you don't even tell their family where you are taking him to. You put him in an unidentified vehicles and drove away. Only to appear at the police station, and then while handcuffed like George Ford, you put a bunch of leaves in his hand. And you say that is the code, that is we. In fact, the police people who did that should be arrested. Before you can say that what you put in the hands of that person is a narcotic drug, it must be subjected to what? Test.
Yeah.
Test. So if you are a police officer and you know that what you found was weed, then you are also culpable. Because no laboratory established that substance. No laboratory. And then you filmed him. You filmed him and put him on social media. First of all, you must also know that it is only a convicted person who is not entitled to the protection of his dignity.
True.
When did the police people become judges?
In their own court.
In their own court. That they convict Amponsa, or what is his name? The pastor of an offense of
Owusu
of an offense of possessing narcotic drug. And you look at what the daily guide has published. We pastor. National paper. We pastor. I thought that they would know better. I thought Daily Guide would know better. So Daily Guide without a medical report, a laboratory report establishing that the substance that was being held by the pastor was a narcotic drug, has concluded that we apostles are marked after killing threats. We pastor. You see why I am disturbed. You see why I feel unsafe. You see why I have been consumed by fear under Nana Akufo-Addo. Because they can do anything against anybody with impunity and get away with it. That is the Ghana.